We all know Mercedes Moné, the CEO, the history maker, the global icon, but what if I told you there's a side to her journey, a crucial detail that most fans, even the diehards, completely overlook? Today we are diving deep beyond the spotlight to uncover the one thing about Mercedes Moné that changes everything. You thought you knew her rise and her impact. Many credit her success to obvious factors. There's an overlooked element, a pivotal moment or fact that has been hiding in plain sight that has truly shaped Mercedes Moné that we see today. And it's something most fans get wrong or don't realize. Stick around because by the end of this video, you will be looking at Mercedes Moné's career through a brand new lens, armed with a piece of knowledge that few appreciate. This isn't just trivia, it's untold key truth. Let's get into it. Mercedes Moné has spoken about the feeling of being alive in the ring. Since early 2024, Mercedes Moné has been a member of the AEW company and has been one of their top stars in the meantime. She's currently the TBS champion. Now at Double or Nothing this weekend, she will look to win the Owen Hart Cup tournament. She's going to take on a former AEW Women's Champion and Jamie Hayter in the tournament finals. The winner of this match will go on to All in Texas in July, challenging our Women's Champion Toni Storm for that very title. Now, while speaking with Justin Barrasso for Undisputed, Moné noted that when she's in the ring, she feels alive. She said, "Once I'm in the ring, I feel alive. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be." She continued by speaking about wanting to explore in other countries following her WWE exit in 2023. This is what she had said. "I wanted to explore Japanese wrestling and the UK women's wrestling for so long. I'm not dreaming about it anymore. I'm doing it. Before, there were so many times when I was getting 4-minute matches where we would get to a building and something would change. You'd spend weeks planning for it all to change at the last minute. Now it's not changing. I get to go out there and do it. It's mine to claim. It's mine to carry. It's mine to do. I get to go out there and live my dream." Why is this so significant? Because Mercedes Moné, for two reasons actually. When she's in the ring, she feels alive. It's where she's supposed to be. The reason that that is so prolific is the fact that I think many people take being a wrestler and they don't understand, appreciate the art of being a wrestler. There's a lot of responsibility. Not only are you putting your life on the line, but you're also putting your opponent's life on the line. At any given moment, your life or theirs can change. And with Mercedes Moné, she's a very busy person. She's got a hectic schedule. She's running businesses. She's trying to branch out more into Hollywood. She obviously has her wrestling career. And when she's able to get to the ring, she escapes. Everything goes on pause and she can focus on one thing and one thing only. And that is her pure, the thing that she loves the most. It's her number one passion in this world, wrestling. And that's where she's getting at. And her talking about the other thing regarding going out there and being able to work. So kick it back for a minute. We go to 2023. It's May of 2023, okay, 2 years ago. And she and Naomi are the women's tag team champions. Now, WWE had opted to book them in a gauntlet match, okay, where the winner would challenge Ronda Rousey for the women's title and whatever PLE they were booking at the time. And originally, it was going to be Sasha Banks, aka with Moné, going over and challenging Ronda Rousey for this title. Naomi would have challenged the other champion at that other brand at the same PLE. So going into it, okay, you're taking the women's champions and you're putting them in a spot where they are Naomi's going to lose, right? And Mercedes is going to go over. And it doesn't put a focus on tag team wrestling. Now, a lot of people, I think, misunderstand why was it that Mercedes and Naomi were so upset. They believe in women's tag team wrestling. They are the tag team champions. And they're looking at it as, why are you taking the focus away from the tag team titles? And why are you not furthering the tag team titles by having them defended And why are you having us go and work singles matches? We're your tag team champions. Why don't we have a tag team title match on the show, right? And you got to keep in mind Mercedes Moné and Bayley for years and years and years had pushed for the introduction of women's tag team titles. The reason being that obviously they had a huge part of the women's evolution, later the revolution in WWE. They changed the game in regarding women's wrestling. And so they pushed for women's tag team titles and they wanted it to be special. They wanted it to mean something. And the history of those titles, which was, hey, if you have two stars that are top tier stars and the company respects, those titles are going to mean something. They're going to be prestigious. They're going to be defended. And there are going to be multiple feuds and multiple tag teams ready to feud with those champions. However, if you have a tag team that WWE is not high on or is not over, well, those titles are secondary. They are put on the back burner and they're really only used to fill time. They're not defending PLEs, etc. And so Mercedes and Bayley had a big issue with this. And so they opted to just walk out. They didn't handle the situation very well. Let's be real. And so instead of saying, hey, we don't want to do this, we're not going to do this, they just took their ball and they walked out to put the titles on Johnny Ace's desk and walk out of the arena. They were later stripped of the titles. They were suspended from the company, and ultimately they both got their release after requesting it and negotiating it. And so Naomi, she goes to TNA. She has a great run there. She's back in WWE. Mercedes Moné back to the Japanese, or Japan comments rather. She opts to sign with New Japan Pro Wrestling and start there because that's where she wanted to work, right? And so now we're in a situation where Mercedes Moné has been able to work all around the world. I'm talking about the UK, I'm talking about Japan, I'm talking about Mexico, and obviously here in the United States as a key member of the AEW roster. And it's something in which I think she takes a lot of pride in, that she can work in all of these different countries and all of these promotions and with all of these different talent. She's able to put a showcase on these promotions and on these talents that maybe wouldn't get regular recognition and notoriety like your Rev Pros and etc. She's able to do that because here's the thing. When you put Mercedes Moné on a marquee, when you put Mercedes Moné on a headline or in a video or on an ad or social media, regardless of you liking her or you don't, fans are intrigued, right? They want to hear about Mercedes Moné. They want to see Mercedes Moné. They want to know what she's going to do. And that is the beauty of Mercedes Moné. She gets a reaction. She gets people to give their thoughts, give their opinions about her. They care enough to go out there and comment. They care enough to go out there and buy a ticket. They care enough to buy the pay-per-view or tune into the weekly show. Why is she so captivating? I think it's because of her charisma. And she knows that she's really good on the mic and she's great in the ring. And a lot of people, they may not like that, may not appreciate that, may not want to see that, right? But at the end of the day, Mercedes Moné, she knows her value. She knows what she brings to the table, and she's able to bring that in. And I think that's very important to know your value, to go out there and do exactly what you have to do to get a reaction, to get a response, right? And at the end of the day, that is what Mercedes Moné does. She gets a reaction. She gets some notoriety. Let me know in the comments here below what you guys think, and I will see each and every one of you in the next